My name is Gianluca Ragazzini, and I'm a member of the board of Tone Cluster, quite a queer choir in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I am also the president of Unison, which is the organization that is putting together the Canadian Gay Lesbian Choral Festival. Unison is started as the first festival was in Edmonton, in Alberta, in 1998, and then it became a quadriennial festival, like the GALA Courses Festival, then it happened in Toronto, in Vancouver, and in Winnipeg. So it was in Ontario, and then went all the way to the West Coast and into the prairies, and now we were successful at bringing it back to Ottawa, so in the capital of Canada. So the 5th edition will be in May 16th, from May 16th to May 19th, 2014. The festival is hosted by the 3 local choirs, In Harmony, a women's chorus, the Ottawa Gay Men's Chorus, and Tone Cluster. So we're actually all together co-sponsoring the festival, and we are all organizing parties, and each choir organizes a party at a different time and all this stuff. So we have a bunch of things happening. Well, it's a smaller festival, but it's just great. It's another great gathering of people, beautiful music, and it's always, these are the best audiences in the world. I guess my one of my best moments is sitting in an audience in a Unison concert was when the Prairie Pride chorus from Saskatoon in Saskatchewan performed Watershed Stories, which was a suite of pieces composed by David L. McIntyre, their former music director, based on stories of living as gay people or coming out in the prairies. So basically, the singers of the choir brought up all these stories, and the composer put together the stories into a suite of pieces. Just beautiful. I'm from Milan in Italy, and I moved to Canada in 1997. At the beginning of 1997, I was not out as a gay man, and throughout meeting people, and I found out about the Ottawa Gay Men's Chorus when I was there, and I went to see their first concert. I said, "Oh, I really like this. I would like to try," but I joined the choir in September, and I said, "There's no way I'm gonna sing on the stage with the Ottawa Gay Men's Chorus. I'm just gonna try and see what happens." And then I loved it, and then I said, "Well, I cannot not do a concert." So I ended up singing in the concert, and that actually was really my coming out story, because the public nature of a choir was what basically helped me with the process, because it's always easy to be gay as long as you know exactly who to tell to and who not to tell. But the choir is public, everybody sees you. In the audience you may find your co-workers, or friends or family, or people you never told before. So about 8 months after I joined the choir, with the Ottawa Gay Men's Chorus, we went to Edmonton for the first edition of the Canadian Festival, and through that long weekend, I ended up becoming really good friend with the man that ended up becoming my husband. So basically, we consider that the time when we got together. That's our anniversary. It's been 15 years now, and that was such an important thing in my life, and it's kind of all related with the choir and being in a choral festival. So it's kind of odd, but it's not very nice. Me personally, I was actually involved in a lobbying group that was working with a Canadian with a national group that was lobbying the Canadian government into making the same-sex legislation pass. So I was personally I was the coordinator of the Ottawa chapter of this organization, and then we were having meeting with the national chair of the organization, and strategizing and putting out a story, and then the next day the Prime Minister would say those things on the radio and on the television. It's really cool, and basically we worked to talk to the members of Parliament who were undecided, and try to convince them that was the right way to go. It took a long time, because we were looking at over two years to make that happen. It was a strange time, because even within the queer community, there were people said, "Well, I don't want marriage," and some said, "We want." I guess we were from the point of view. Dan and I were thinking, it seems like it's the right thing for us to do, and we want to, and we want to, people to be allowed to do that if they feel like, it, and that's the thing. But then it raised, as it's happening everywhere. It's happening in Europe and all over the place. That it raises all these really nasty issues coming up. You hear a lot of hurtful things, and that happened there as well. So it was a tough time. It was exciting because we saw that it was happening, but at the same time there was a lot of work to convince people that it wouldn't bring to the end of society as we know. It was just nothing, and so there was a lot of work to make that happen and to try to overcome that kind of mentality, but also the anger that it actually would bring in within us, because it's difficult not to get angry when you hear all these nasty things. The Automobile Gay Men's Chorus, I was with them for several years. Now I'm not singing with them any longer, but it's been around for 26, 27 years now. And so it's actually one of the first Canadian gay choruses. So I joined them, and I stayed there for probably 8-9 years. While I was singing with them, I also joined Tonklaster, which is the choir that I sing. It's the main choir I sing with now. And Tonklaster instead has been around 20 years now. This is the 20th season. Tonklaster is Ottawa's only choir for it's only Ottawa's only a mixed choir for LGBT people and supporters, allies, affirming. With Tonklaster, we've been actually successful this year to have involvement in the campaign, in the anti-bullying campaign. We in Ottawa, in our city, we had recently, in the past years, we had a number of teen dying from suicide, and so we started to work more towards that and to get involved with schools. So Tonklaster was actually ended up being able to in May this year, being able to be the first queer choir to sing in a school assembly. And this is a big inspiration that we got from GALA choruses. I've been following what Jane has done for a long time, and she was very instrumental in bringing this idea through GALA choruses, and they ended up being espoused by Tonklaster, and that's an example of how we were able to touch and to reach people that otherwise we would not see as our usual audience. And I think that's an example of even throughout all this time and through how Canada has evolved in terms of federal legislation and equality rights. It's still something that is very inspirational today and very useful and very meaningful today.